Hey guys, and welcome to today's episode of Chef Matthew's Kitchen, an alternate series to Undercooked. Today we're going to be making some chocolate chip cookies, but with a twist. In today's episode, we're making classic chocolate chip cookies using standard ingredients, but instead of chocolate chips, we're going to be using these Trader Joe's peanut butter chocolate cups, which I think will add a good extra flavor to it instead of just chocolate. Alright, so first, with most baking, we have to preheat the oven to about 375. Now, before the wet ingredients, we always got to do the dry ingredients to get the base mixture created for our cookies. Let's get that started. Alright, so we have here our all-purpose flour, which we need around 3 cups of. Alright, now we mix in our baking powder and baking soda. The baking soda provides the base reaction, which makes cookies fluffy. When they react with an acid like the brown sugar, it creates trapped gases which allow the cookies to rise rather than being a flat bread, basically. In goes our base. A little bit of salt. And we'll mix it well. Set it aside. Next we got to mix the butter and sugar. This recipe doesn't call for that much butter, only a whole cup, which is just one of these short little sticks. We'll mix both brown and white sugar to create a balanced flavor for our cookies. This recipe is very simple, in which it only calls for 1 cup of each ingredient. 1 cup of this butter, 1 cup of this sugar, and 1 cup of brown sugar, which we pour out into the cup. Pour it in. Alright, now that we got both the sugars and the butter in, we have to do one of my favorite parts of making cookies, which is to mash it together with this thing, which I can never remember the name of. So let's get started. Alright, now that that's all done, we can beat in these 2 Trader Joe's eggs with our other wet ingredients to create a nice fluffy mixture. Alright, we'll just mix them in until it's one big combined mixture. And would you look at that? It's exactly what I want. I bet it tastes really good, but I'm not going to eat it because it's raw eggs in it. I almost forgot the vanilla. Just a little splash. That's good. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and take a little spatula like this, and we can scoop our wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. These cookies don't take very long to make, so it's a plus. Alright, just get it in there. I lied. Alright, so now we just mix it together until we get the finished dough. And that's pretty much it for these cookies, except for the secret ingredient. Not so secret, but still, the special ingredient, which will give it a nice peanut buttery taste at the very end. And we're pretty much done with this part. At this point, if you were following along, which I'd be pretty happy if you were, your cookie dough should look somewhat like this. Depending on your conditions, you might want to add some extra wet ingredients, but otherwise, it's good. Just going to add some of our special ingredients. Mix those in and they're ready to cook. Alright, so here we have our cookie sheet. We might want to get some cookie paper. It's alright if it rips. We just want a surface for our cookies. Like that. And if you want, you can use a cup, but I like to just use my hands and just make little cookie balls and put them on the pan. I don't want to be a little too big, but still, get the idea. And with that, the first batch of cookies are done. They should look like little bite-sized dough balls and you just pop them in the oven for like 10 to 12 minutes and they're done. We just slide them in and we let them bake. So that's pretty much it. Chocolate chip cookies are one of the easiest things to bake. But thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing because it does help this channel out a ton. We're trying to make some money in the future. This is a series that I want to continue, so if I see it does well, then I'll make more. But overall, we're done here. We'll just let them bake, and we'll have our special guest Bernice taste them and tell us how they turned out. Time to pop them out. Go ahead, grab them, and you just let them sit out and cool off for a bit. And that's essentially done. But what I like to do is I like to sprinkle a little bit of salt on top. It gives it a little bit of an extra flavor. It's my preference. It's not necessary for this specific baked good, but overall, pretty good. We'll get on to the taste test next. Time for Chef Bernice to try the cookies. There you go. Tell me how it tastes.
Good.
Tastes good? Good. Do you want the rest of it?
Mm-hmm.
And that concludes today's episode. Thank you for watching. And always remember to keep cooking.